Thanks everyone for stopping by and welcome to today's webinar, Run Your Business Like a Business with MAPS coach Brian Gubernick. I'll make this short and sweet. Please note this meeting is being recorded. I will share the link in the chat momentarily to the MAPS YouTube channel where the recording will be available within 24 hours. Currently, everyone is on mute. However, we do value group participation, so we ask that if you have any questions for your coaches, please type them into the chat box. Following the meeting, if you have any questions about today's call or any other coaching programs, please feel free to email us at fasttrack, FASTTRACK @kw.com. That's all for me, guys. The floor is yours.
Love it. Thank you, Graham. Really appreciate it. Everybody, thank you for being here. We are going to be fast moving, quick paced. And my intention is to be out of here, have you on your way, going back, doing lots of business in the next 26 minutes. So we'll be done at 30 after the hour. Hey, Caitlin, make note, if we ever replay this webinar, we've got to always start at top of the hour and end at 30 after the hour. So it looks like it's live. All right. So anyways, guys, let's get into it real quick. If you don't know me, my name is Brian Gubernick. I am a 15-year Keller Williams veteran. Started as an agent, built a team, got into expansion, expanded my team, bought into some of the franchises, became an OP. I've coached and trained and held virtually every role within Keller Williams over my 15-year career. And any role that I've yet to hold, well, I hope to take it on in the next 15 years. So I am a Keller Williams guy, born and raised. And I am talking to you today, this diverse group. We've got team owners. We've got individual agents looking to build a team. We have team leaders for market centers. We have productivity coaches that are building out teamerage programs. We've got a rather diverse group. My intention today is to talk with you about running your business like a business, specifically running your real estate team business like a business. Now, this is very applicable to everybody in attendance. Again, agents looking to build a team or currently running a team. Obviously, you put this into practice today. Team leaders participating here today, market center team leaders, you want to know this information because one, a lot of you are building teamerage like teams within your office. A lot of you, of course, are recruiting and coaching your agents and your top teams. And so having this knowledge, having this available to you, I want you to rip off everything that we talk about here today and use it in your recruiting conversations, your coaching conversations. Then, of course, those building the real estate sales team within the brokerage, the teamerage model that Jason Abrams and KW share so much about. This is applicable to building that team as well. So running your business like a business, we're going to jump in. Before we do, though, I don't want to forget to introduce my partner in crime here, Ryan Melville. Ryan, say hi real quick.
Yes, sir. Thanks, Brian. Appreciate everybody for being here.
There's my man, Ryan. So Ryan has been my partner in building real estate teams and in coaching and training for the past several years. We do run a program through MAPS, our implementation training program. Ryan leads that for us. And so he's going to be participating and jumping in when from time to time when I'm calling on him or wherever he sees fit as we run through the next 25 minutes or so of detail. So let's get into it. Before I switch to this very first slide, though, I'm going to warn you, there are a lot of words on it. And that is by design. If there is, my passion or my strategy in every session I'm teaching, be it live or webinar, I want you to come away with action items. Like it matters to me that you leave anything I ever teach or train around with something or some things that you could turn around and put into your business tomorrow or right now, whenever it may be. This next slide, I'm going to ask you a bunch of questions. This slide may prompt you to think of something that you could put into action. And Ryan and I are going to take credit for asking you these questions. We may not give you the strategy just yet, but I want to ask you these questions as it pertains to your business. Okay. I want you thinking about this. If you have a notepad out or your Remarkable out or your whatever you're recording on your computer out, I want you to answer these questions if you get a minute. In your business, what are you presently measuring? Make a quick list of all of those things you currently track. tracking closings, escrows, number of calls made, number of leads received, number of signed calls, whatever it may be. What are you presently measuring today? Screenshot this, by the way. You may not have time to ask all of these questions. Second question, though, of these things you're tracking, what of these items, data, or metrics do you think are the best indicators of effort? What are the best indicators of effort? See, some of these things that you're tracking are what we would consider product goals. These are lag indicators. These are results-based, right? So closings, for example, are product goals. They're the lag result from several steps that occurred before it. So I give you that example because closings would not be an effort metric. It would not be something indicating effort. What would be the opposite of that? That would be a process goal. These are the lead indicators, the activity-based goals. Which of these are you tracking? A good example of this may be number of people dialed today. It may be number of coffee appointments held this week. It may be number of doors knocked. These are physical activities that all you need to be successful in terms of measuring. I'm not talking about result. All you need to be successful is to put in the work. So of all the things you're tracking, what are the best indicators of effort? Now, if you're judging by effort, how are you and or your people personally performing at this very moment? I want you to think about that. If we're going just off of effort, how would I rate my performance today? Maybe a good way to rate on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being my effort is extraordinarily high, 1 being I'm putting in no effort whatsoever. On a scale of 1 to 10, where do you sit right now? And here's the kicker. You cannot use the number 7. On a scale of 1 to 10, you can't use the number 7. Where are you at in terms of effort? Where are your people at in terms of their effort? Again, if you're just measuring that. Now, what kind of story is this telling in your business right now? Next question you could read here. How often are you actually reviewing the metrics, the things that you are tracking, both the effort metrics and the result metrics? How often are you looking at these things? How often do you think you should be looking at these things? What's the disconnect between how often you are and how often you should be? What story is that maybe telling? And then lastly, do you personally, do your agents, do your people, do those on your team, do they know, do you know your priorities each and every day? And specifically, do you know what of those priorities must get done each day? Right? So what are those things? I don't want the cliche answer we give at KW, which is, yeah, I know my priorities. It's lead gen 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. every day. Well, I read the Red Book too, probably 100 times. And yes, that is very, 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 very true. I don't want to hear what you think the answer should be, though. I want to know what your answers are today. Now, you may be asking yourself, Ryan, why are you making me go through all these questions? Well, the truth of the matter is, when we're talking about running your business like a business, we're saying that if it's not being run like a business, it's likely being run like a practice, right? So Ryan, I'm gonna go over to you real quick. I want you to talk about, how you view someone running a business like a business versus somebody running a business like a practice. You're a guy that's coached literally hundreds of teams.
Yeah.
Those teams you talk to that look more practice versus more business, what's the disconnect? What are you seeing?
Well, it's great you asked it because we're just coming out of the month of July. And I don't know if it's our industry, but I had a lot of people that were on vacation this month, the last month, I should say, right? 4th of July. They weren't in the office. Did their business still run, right? Like, were they still adding transactions, or did it shut down for the month of July? I have a gentleman I coach that his business would just shut down in the month of July. And he was fine with that. Where running your business like a business, I also have other agents that I'm coaching that they can leave for a few weeks and nothing changes. Deals are still occurring, pendings are still happening, closings happen while they're on the beach. So in my eyes, right, that's a business versus somebody who every transaction or every part of their business has to be handled by them. And when they're not there to handle it, things cease to exist.
Yeah, no, I love that answer. I mean, you nailed it, right? Running a business to me, very much like you said, Ryan, a business to me operates independent of you. Revenue still continues to be created. The best analogy I could give here, and Ryan, you've heard this a handful of times. I talk about my father-in-law, who, side note, I love my father-in-law. I am very fortunate. So what I'm about to say is not a knock. It's just the truth. My father-in-law is a very successful dentist and has been for years. Amazing guy. Every summer, my father-in-law and my mother-in-law go back to Bulgaria. That's the country they're from. That's where my wife's from. And they go back to Bulgaria for about 6 to 8 weeks. And when my father-in-law goes back to Bulgaria, revenue in his dental practice stops. Why does it stop? Well, because he's a sole practitioner. Well, my wife's in practice with him actually, but she happens to take off the month of July as well. Point is, when they stop acting in that business or what they're calling a business, revenue ceases. So I don't mean it in a disrespectful manner, but when my father-in-law wants to talk about business, it's a very challenging conversation for me, because I want to say, well, I look at business being this certain sort of animal, and what you're running is much more practice-based. Nothing wrong with it, to be super clear, nothing wrong with it. But if you're looking to build a business, businesses are in fact predictable. They create revenue while you're not around. They can run independent of you. And how do they get that way, Ryan? How do they get that way? They get that way by building in the proper systems and models and tracking capabilities so that it's always predictable and that it can run independent of you.
And it's all super simple, all the stuff that we talk about.
It is. So, I mean, I think the focusing question, what I'd be asking myself right now, I would be looking at my own operation, be it my market center, my team, my individual agent, business. And I'd be asking myself, where do I rank on that scale? Am I running a practice that is heavily dependent on me, and when I show up, it works, and when I don't show up, it doesn't work? Am I running a business that I'm leveraged out of that's functioning for me? Now, again, I'm not saying that running this big business is necessarily right for everyone. I'm just saying today's call is about that, right? Like making sure that if in fact that's what you desire, you have the right systems in place to create this predictability. So again, to rehash, you have product goals. These are the lag indicators: closings, GCI, and rankings. This is what Keller Williams tracks the heck out of. We know that as we're heading the mega camp here, and we see individuals up on stage, what you're going to see are a number of closings they've had and their GCI, and then you can log into the reports and see their rankings. These are great things to have, but they tell us the result. The process goals, what I would love to see when someone goes up on stage, I want to know what they're doing below the iceberg. We've all seen the picture with the iceberg, and then below it is this massive, massive foundation. That's where I think the process goals live. What are you tracking? Are you tracking them? What we think for a real estate business, again, Ryan, is number of contacts made, number of doors knocked, number of appointments. These are the lead indicators for the lag results.
And the common thing is the contacts, right? Depending, any lead generation source that we're going after, it's a contact sport. If you're working your sphere of influence, it's all about making contacts. If you're a door knocker, you're making contacts. So the common denominator that we all have with any lead generation source is going to be the contacts made.
So I nailed it. So as you see there, the big idea here, and I want you to think about this, the best indicator of success in our business is in the effort applied to creating business, as opposed to the skill level, the customer service level, or any other characteristic of successful real estate agents. Think about this for a moment. I'm not saying you shouldn't be skilled. I'm not saying you shouldn't provide great customer service. I'm not saying you shouldn't do all of those things that successful real estate agents do, but I am saying that the single greatest indicator, having coached literally hundreds of teams, probably thousands of agents over the course of my career, and Ryan would say the same. The single best indicator of success is the level of effort applied to creating the business. In other words, and I know this may sound harsh, but I want to be really direct as I say this. You can have terrible customer service and be even poorly skilled in terms of how you function as an agent. But as Gary oftentimes says, lead generation solves most every problem. If you lead generate, you get enough at bats, even if your skill level and your customer service is mid-level, you can run a very successful business. However, if the opposite occurs, if you have the greatest customer service level, and you're very highly skilled, but you have no effort going into creating business, nobody will ever know how good you are. And your business will not be a strong one. That's why we function when we think around real estate teams. Again, solo agent looking to build a team, current team owners right now, team leaders in market centers that are running teamerage. What we think around and what we coach around has a lot to do with skill and will. Give me an agent that shows me will, shows me effort, and it's my job as the team leader to skill them up, to train them, to coach them. The dangerous agent is the one that's highly skilled, but unwilling to do the work. I love this graphic here. Ryan, do you want to talk real quick around skill or will and this graphic here? And I'll fill in the gaps.
Yeah, absolutely. So, especially in our real estate team, we're looking at a real estate practice. What Brian just said, I use this on our team, right? Show me the will and we can train the skill, right? Somebody willing to show up each day and do the work. That's a trainable person. That's somebody who's coachable. But if they're not willing to show up, right, the skill set, it doesn't matter. So you can see here on this matrix, right, the high skill set, right, the high skill set is a potential detractor.
This is always a fascinating, I want to jump in. High skill, low will. So you see that lower right quadrant? That is a potential detractor. That's a really good analogy. Like I had a gentleman on my sales team who was the highest performer on the team. He literally had the most closings at the time. And I would tell you he was the most skilled. But he put in the least amount of work. And as crazy as this may sound, this is the type of individual that could really jeopardize your team because he's having the result, but he's not putting in the work. And so he's impacting the culture. He's undermining maybe what you're teaching or sharing or training. And this is oftentimes the agent, Ryan, that I get that question, gosh, I don't know what to do with John agent over there because he's closing 3-4 deals a month, but he never shows up to team meetings. He never lead generates. He never does this. He never does that. What do I do? And my answer is, well, how long are you willing to put up with him undermining your leadership? And if the answer is indefinitely, more power to you. But for me, what I've always found is that if you keep that individual employed or associated with your team, you're short-sighted. If you're playing the long game and building a business, then unfortunately you may want to cut ties. Now, again, I hate losing that revenue. Don't get me wrong. But what I hate even more is somebody that isn't honoring the standards, isn't honoring the effort required, because during tough times, as many would suggest we're getting into right now, the effort and will prevail. So as you go through this quadrant, potential detractor like this, you're going to try to motivate them. Motivation, though, is very difficult for someone that's performing at a high level, right? And the thing is, when you motivate, if you're over their shoulder watching, you may get that motivation. When you leave the room, you may get a different performance. The opposite, who I really like in my world, are those that show very high will, but maybe have low skill. Because those people are willing to put in the work, and I'm going to train them up and get them to that top right quadrant there, the high performers. What a fun game that is. The low will, low skill. It said this is really polite the way it says low performers just want to direct. I'd probably be directing them out of my world. Low performer in terms of low skill. All right, I'm all right with that. I'll coach him up. But show me low will, that's going to be a problem for me. So the question here, as you're looking at this, where would I place each of the people in my world? In which quadrant would they sit? Now, here's the thing. Most everything in this world, especially your team, is going to operate on some sort of bell curve, meaning that there will be top performers, there will be mid performers, and then there's going to be weakest links. If you have 5 people on your team, one's the best, 3 are in the middle, trying to figure out where they're going to land, and there's 1 at the bottom. Every single team has a weakest link. Even those teams that are extraordinarily strong, even those businesses that are extraordinarily strong, by just rank, I mean, no 2 people are going to be equal. You're going to have a weakest link. Who's yours? And what are you going to do about it? Now, when I say what are you going to do about it, that doesn't mean part ways. I'm asking you, what action steps are you going to take? Ryan, talk around scoreboarding though, because agents that run their business like a business, they do some things around scoreboarding that others that run practices tend not to do.
Absolutely. This is one of my favorite sessions that we do when we talk about scoreboarding. And Brian, you did a great job of dropping that image on there. That's great. But think about sporting events, right? Look at that scoreboard right there. That scoreboard tells the story, right? There's a couple main points that we need to take away. One, we know how much time is left, right? We know there's 3 minutes and 5 seconds left in the game. And we got a team that's down, home team is up. So we know the score and we know some fouls. But what we don't see on the scoreboard are the shooting percentages for the center, 3-point percentages for the team. That's all being tracked. But the players and the fans can easily look up on a scoreboard and see if they're, most importantly, winning or losing, right? And so does your scoreboard tell the same story? Can somebody walk into your office and see if the team is winning or losing based on your scoreboard? It doesn't have to look like this. Some of them do, right? But this is an example of a scoreboard that it tells a story just with some simple numbers on here. But there's a lot more going on behind the scenes.
Yeah, I'm a little biased to this lesson as well, right? Because I think every one of us has some variation of a scoreboard we're working off of. It's either a mental one, it may be as crazy as it sounds, a bank account balance. My balance goes up, my business is successful. My balance goes down, it's not successful. That's a bad scoreboard, but it's a scoreboard nonetheless. Every business has some form of scorekeeping that they're doing. What we're suggesting, what we're strongly encouraging, is that you create a more robust scoreboard such that you know your lead measures, where they're landing you, and you're creating this cadence and this culture of accountability. Like Ryan said, if I walked into your office today, could I look somewhere? Would I know whether you're winning or losing? See, the funny thing about this scoreboard here is, most real estate teams that I've coached that Ryan's worked with, I mean, they don't know whether they're winning or losing. They're using their bank account maybe as that. They don't know, the score. They don't know how much time is left in their game. They don't know how many fouls maybe they have. They don't know if they're on the verge of fouling out. They don't know how many timeouts they have. Right? Like, what's your version of that?
And Brian, some of them don't know the game we're playing, right? Like, it's going back as far as, yeah, I have a scoreboard, yet what am I tracking? Like, what is the game that we're playing? Am I heavy on the sphere of influence? Am I a door knocker, right? Like, a lot of them don't know what it is that they should be tracking.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think, again, just to emphasize, the point here is, do you know whether you're winning or losing every single day? That's a question for all of us, regardless of your position. You wake up in the morning, you do your morning routine, whatever that may be. You get in front of your computer, you start your 17 Zooms for the day. You're looking at your email, you're on your Slack. Now suddenly the day's over at 5 or 6 or 10 o'clock for some of you guys. If I asked you, did you win or lose? What would your answer be? What would that answer be based around? right? So we believe that businesses know whether they're winning or losing at all times. Members of those businesses can tell you whether they're winning or losing the day. We teach a process by which your agents on your team would send you a text or a group chat or whatever it may be that says won the day or lost the day, W or L. And it's based on a number, on a measurement that everybody can align to. And now we know who's winning or losing the day. I think this is one of the most important things that we could be doing to run a real estate team like a business. Create a culture of accountability, define how we're winning or losing each day. We think, and we're going to speed through this a little bit, some of these things we've always taught at Keller Williams, the 4 conversations. For those that have been around for a little while, you probably recognize this. We've added a couple here. No matter your lead generation model, it is time spent lead generating is going to create contacts. Contacts are going to create ads to your database. Once they're in the database, we're trying to drive to appointments. And once we drive to appointments, we're taking buyer and seller listings. And from there, we close. These are what we would call the 6 conversations. And we think your scoreboarding should be based around this. Your coaching conversation should be based around this. This is what you need to be talking about in those practices that want to run like businesses. As a coach, you are leading. To me, coaching is leading. What is leadership? I think it's real simple. It's influence. You're either influencing in the right direction or you're influencing in the wrong direction. Leaders influence in the right direction or influence in the wrong direction. Which direction are you leading right now? All right, so we're going to wrap up here, gang. We've got 1 minute to spare. I don't know how we timed that right, Ryan, but we did. We do run a implementation training program through our partnership with MAPS. As I said, Ryan drives that program. I pop in from time to time. Julie Youngblood, who many of you know, pops in from time to time. Go to getourplaybook.com and you can sign up right there. We'll be talking about it at Mega Camp. So you can join our program. It's a group coaching program. Ryan drives it. If you sign up by the end of the week, so by Friday, you're going to get a 20-minute session with Ryan, who is a master of all these principles, who built it out for my team alongside me, and then has been coaching this for the past several years for all different sorts of teams and brokerages. And so sign up by the end of the week. Ryan will get on the line with you. Other than that, though, we'll catch you at Mega Camp. Go to getourplaybook.com. And if you want to email me directly with any questions you may have, it's real easy. It is Brian, BRIAN, at KW.com. Brian at KW.com. That tells you how long I've been around Keller Williams.
And how special he is to have that first name. I tried and they're like, no, you gotta add your last name on there. So
you gotta be in early. You gotta be in early, and you gotta wait for that Brian before you to leave. Then you get it. So
and that call, you're gonna leave with an action plan. I just wanted to add that on there. It's not just a canned 20-minute spiel. It's you and I will get on for 20 minutes, dig into your business, find out what needs to occur, and then you and I will build out an action plan that you can follow over the next few days in order to get some maximum impact from that call. So it's a great 20 minutes we'll spend together.
Love it. All right, Graham, we're going to wrap up. We good to go?
Yeah, y'all did great. I didn't know you're, Brian. That's pretty impressive. New fact, Brian at KW, the original Brian. Cool. Thanks, guys.
I'm not the original, but I will tell you, the original Brian does still get an occasional email now and again, and he's up to some crazy stuff, that guy. So we'll leave it at that, Graham.
Sounds good. Appreciate everybody coming around today. We'll have, I'll send the link over to ITP team. We'll get the recording out this afternoon.
Thanks all.
Thanks, everybody.